Christian Kull, everybody. I look after the sales team over at Adomni, which is a programmatic digital out-of-home DSP. And I am here today with two all-stars from HP, so I'll let them introduce themselves. Ha'Londra, you would like to kick us off?
Sure. I'm Ha'Londra Dismond. I am the Programmatic Media Manager at HP's in-house agency. And I handle the print side of the world, which is our Instant Ink, HP Plus, and printer campaigns, where I take care of the awareness, purchase, and consideration campaigns.
Caitlin?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Caitlin Nardi, and I'm the Senior Programmatic Manager for HP's in-house agency, ZG, and I work on the other side of the house doing personal systems as well as our e-commerce, hp.com.
Excellent. Well, let's get into some of the fun stuff here. Oh boy. Here we go. So a lot of buzz already around what Travis was talking about a little bit earlier, that seems like digital out-of-home is usually the first thing to go. It's easy to dismiss. And so with that notion in mind, I'm curious, let's hear it from you guys as planners. What is typically the driver for including digital out-of-home into the mix? Ha'Londra, why don't you kick us off?
That's a good question for me, because I work on the print side of the world, and our products, a lot of them, Instant Ink, a lot of people don't know about. HP Plus, a lot of people don't really know about. So for me, when I'm planning something, I want to plan our campaigns where I know for sure that our competition isn't showing up, and I want to break through the clutter of our normal channels, which are the standard display, online, and mobile units. And so I always plan for digital out of home, because I want to be in those spaces that meet our customers where they are in real life.
Love it. Caitlin?
Yeah, so I mean, digital out of home has been something we've been wanting to try, at least within our personal systems campaigns. And with our Work Happy campaign, we figured when is a better time than now, because digital out of home really allows us to take our current campaign strategy and expand it to reach our audience, say out of their home and out of maybe their place of work, and reach them to where they're out and about, which relates to our Work Happy messaging of employees being able to work outside of the office, maybe work in an Uber or a cafe, a conference, airport, or wherever, and companies feeling comfortable about it, and employees still being able to stay efficient.
Right on. So, and there's been a lot of focus today on creative already, and I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot about it. So with that said, why don't we watch a little sizzle reel to bring this campaign to life? I think that creative hit the mark too, and especially in today's day and age when, pretty much everybody's remote, like why not work happy while you're on the road or on the move, and not in an office, if you will. And so, Caitlin, being that you were responsible for setting up this campaign, why don't you give us a little color as to what the objectives you were faced with when planning this?
Yeah, so I mean, hybrid work has definitely been a topic of conversation over the past 2 years or so. And with this campaign, we really wanted to focus on showing that employees can be flexible, they can have that work-life benefits, and HP wanted to show that we are a leader within the tech space. We're innovative, and we're showing that we can take our products and show the capabilities of allowing people to be able to work efficiently outside of the office, be able to be accessible. The companies can reach them wherever, and overall just show off the work-life balance.
Right on. And so I'm going to paint a little picture here on on the 3 different strategic tactics that were deployed for this particular execution. Each of them have their own unique name. And the first one is called Hybrid Hive. And so the direction here was to target all of the big tech HQ offices and literally go into those offices wherever we could and surround those offices, so to make HP impossible to miss as these C-level execs, IT decision makers were on their way into the office. And also strategically located screens, predominantly billboards, that were on the way to all of these different HQs. So as they were commuting to work, you'd also have a really hard time to ignore the messaging. And then not leaving those folks that work remote, strategically thinking about how you can target those screens that would reach those individuals that were working remotely, whether it's in a cafe or in the back of an Uber or whatever. And then the second was what we call Hybrid Haven. And this is targeting those individuals that work and live in the city. So what is that ingredient, that bundle of screens that could reach those individuals, whether they're working hard or playing hard? And then the third one is Hybrid Hangout, where we were targeting conferences, hand-selected conferences, to reach those tech executives, if you will, and using our partners like Firefly to swarm around these particular conferences, but also thinking about, reaching those consumers on their way into the city through airports or even in hotel rooms. So thinking about different ways to make HP have an unmissable presence around these particular conferences. And so Caitlin, I know, hopefully I didn't butcher that strategic approach, but is there anything that you'd like to add there?
Yeah, this is where I feel like partner collaboration is super important. So, digital out of home was newer to my personal systems team. So we really wanted to be able to rely on Adomni and their expertise and how we want to actually strategize this plan, where exactly we want to place our assets, and how we want to work with our creative. We did go through a couple of rounds with the creative. We worked with your team on opinions of how they would look up out in the world rather than, say, on a computer. So we're able to work with your team and get all that help, all the way down to our billboard locations or even to the CTV or mobile retargeting, which I would say is definitely an advantage that we're able to do, of taking our digital out of home campaign and then expanding it to mobile retargeting and CTV, so that our products were able to stay top of mind with the consumer as they fully went through the journey.
Yeah, from the retargeting standpoint, I love that, just the way that you can bridge the gap, if you will, between the digital media execution and the digital out-of-home execution and make it more of a cohesive omni-channel presence.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's talk results, because that's why we're all here, and thanks to our friends at M4 who are in the room, and much appreciated for getting this in time for this presentation. We saw phenomenal results when we were looking at brand lift studies, and you could see the numbers are pretty impressive, but I'll just call it a couple. And you have 30% lift in brand opinion as a result of being exposed to this ad, as well as a 30% lift in purchase intent. And so it's not even about these statistics. One other component that was captured within the results deck is also consumer sentiment. What do consumers think about when they were exposed to this ad? And I'm just taking a few quotes from the report to showcase that this creative most definitely hit the mark, because it landed the exact sentiment that HP would want to collect from people that were exposed to the ad. And I'll just call out a couple. I could really call out all 4, but just in the interest of time, I'll spare you the details so that you're not going to gloss over. But really, you can work in a hybrid mode anywhere in the world with the use of their product. That's exactly what the creative was portraying.
Yeah.
And I think we could all relate. Personally, I can. Yeah. Working in the back of an Uber, working in a cafe, working on a plane, it's really anywhere. When I'm on vacation, it's crazy. So why not work happy?
Yeah.
And that creative came up, that came to life.
Yeah.
So job well done.
Thank you.
And speaking of that, and thinking about these results, the question is, what do you do? And of course, you're going to take them and evangelize. Look at what I did. Look at patting yourself on the back and making sure others pat yourselves on the back as well, or pat you on the back, whatever. But the question is, what next? And because it was a successful activation, some might say, do you rinse and repeat and just do this over again, or do you really dive into the report and understand what worked, what didn't. Is there anything I can improve on so that I can get stronger moving forward? It's kind of a layup question for you, but
Yeah, definitely. We're stoked about the results. This is our first digital out-of-home campaign for the personal system, so to have these results come back, it's amazing. But, what we like to do, and I'm sure most of us like to do, is take the learnings from our previous campaigns or our quarters and definitely carry them into the next quarter and see what we can do to either build off of that. I'm hoping to take these results and we can share it with Ha'Londra's campaigns within the Instant Ink, HP Plus, and possibly even gaming, so that we can then expand our overall digital out-of-home strategy so that HP is everywhere. Everyone can see it.
Well, yeah, and speaking of the print side, and Ha'Londra, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. It's your turn. Let's put you on the hot seat. So what is happening with the print side of the business over at HP?
Well, for me, it's getting my team on board with digital out of home, because they are very used to their tried and true tactics that they deal with every campaign, their Google discoveries, their YouTube. And so for me, it's getting them to believe in the importance of digital out of home. For me, it's convincing them into digital out of home the same way people had to be convinced with CTV back in the day. Nobody really saw the true value of CTV. Nobody really wanted to get on board until all of a sudden everybody was on board with CTV, and now everybody plans for CTV. And for me, that's where digital out of home is, and it should be, but it's getting people out of their comfort zone to see that the brand lift, the purchase intent, all those things that people don't necessarily believe in right now, because they're very like, oh, I don't really see the importance of digital out of home. It's something that I work on all the time. But now that I have Caitlin's campaign to take back with me and share with the team, I'm definitely hoping that it will change hearts and minds, so I can definitely show up in spaces that I know for sure that our competition isn't showing up.
Yeah. Well, let's harp on that resistance a little bit. Like, what do you think it is? Fear of trying something new, or what would you associate it towards?
It's definitely a fear of trying something new, because it's the unknown still, especially on my side of the camp. Like, it's definitely an unknown for them, and so they don't know whether to trust it or how to get the KPIs the same way you can get from a display campaign or online campaign or a CTV campaign. And so for them, brand lift, they're like, what is that? Like, what am I going to use a KPI for that? Like, what does that actually mean? It's like a theory in their mind that they're like, I don't, the apple's falling from the tree. Do we call it gravity? Like, so that's just what it is. It's making them believe in something that they're not exactly comfortable with yet. But I'm gonna try every quarter to get them on board.
Well, then, purchase intent is the metric to focus on.
Yes.
On that one, for sure, 30% lift in purchase intent.
Yeah,
case you
especially
forgot.
now, because we're moving into printers. So now we actually have products that we can say, like, yeah, look, purchase intent. See, it works.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
I love the
Sales
analogy to CTV as well, because, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, you can do sales lift too if you're getting into that kind
Yeah, now that's something that on my side of the world, because this quarter is our first quarter actually having printers. And so now that I can say that we can use this for purchase intent and sales intent, then that's something I get to take back.
Yeah.
But I get to also take her campaign back with
Yeah.
me and show.
Be like a
proof.
dip in the pool, not a
Right,
splash.
right. Like a little dip. Yeah, so I'm excited to take that back to the team.
So one last thing, I just really agree with you on the CTV analogy, because I often use that too. Like, thinking about when it first emerged into the marketplace, there was a lot of resistance, and nobody knew, like the point I just made earlier, like nobody knew whose jurisdiction that fell under. Was it a digital buy or a TV buy? And I think the same thing's happening with out of home. So once the dust settles a little bit, I think there'll be a little bit more people from those on the buy side embracing the channel just as a whole. And results like this are certainly going to help the case, so people feel a little bit more comfortable sticking their pinky toe in the water and eventually jumping into the deep end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you both for joining us on stage. Is there anybody with questions? I should open this up since we're interactive, yes? Does anybody have any questions you'd like to ask the HP All-Stars or myself?
I'm going to put that on my name
Yeah.
on LinkedIn.
My LinkedIn
Yeah,
HP.
right, exactly. Definitely put that.
Kim. might have touched on this, but I went to the bathroom. So, who really came up with the whole work happy idea? It's great, and is that something where, like, you collaborate on, or is it just like you had an idea and you're like, I'm going with this?
I wish I could take credit for that. It was a larger picture that came from HP as a whole to focus on work happy as us at HP moved into more hybrid work as well. So we wanted to focus on that throughout, I guess, the world.
Right, do it.
Thank you.
It's Caitlin's idea. Heard it her first. All her.
Was that campaign you guys did, like, was that your first digital out-of-home campaign?
For our North American team,
Was?
yes.
So,
Yeah.
like, did you consider that a test campaign, or did you kind of just did, like, that seems like it was more of a bigger splash than just a test campaign?
Yes, it was a test campaign. I mean, it was a large test campaign.
Yeah.
But I was pretty passionate on pushing it when we were doing the recommendations. I felt like it fit so well with the messaging of people being, I mean, not so much in the office. You're going to be out. You're going to be going to workout classes during the day. So you might be at the gym in between meetings. So it was something that we felt really aligned with our overall message for the campaign.
I have a question. Last question I've been told by Stephanie, because she's beating me up. From a HP perspective, what do you think the out-of-home world or in the AdTech community like Adomni and people could do better? What's the one simple thing that we could do better next time you run a multi-million pound campaign?
That is a
That's a loaded question.
Better. What could you do better?
Wow. Nobody said those.
I think that's a job well done on Adomni. Right there.
I mean, it doesn't usually happen, but it was a smooth process, I would say. They were able to help us a lot getting off the ground. If anything, the bumps came from our end, so there's some things that we could do better, but they were there to walk us through everything. I mean, I guess if I come up with something, I'll let you know. For Q1, our next campaign.
So was it like the overarching question, like what could do better, or just Adomni could? Oh,
I think he meant overarching, but you can make it Adomni in focus.
Sorry.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but it's great to have brands here. I think everybody in the audience who's a media buyer or media publisher knows that we don't have an industry without brands such as yourself. And congratulations, by the way, on buying Polly. A lot of our friends in the
thank
AV
you. That was like,
industry
what?
are all Polly fans, so
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Thank you.
It's an in-joke in the AV world, don't worry.
I think if I had to think about it, like because my team is so heavy KPIs, like if there were harder KPIs like CTRs or CPC or whatever, and that's unrealistic because that's not what digital out of home is. I mean, I guess it would just try to figure out some metric that would even be like seismic or similar to that. But to me, that's only me thinking about my team and their craziness and obsession with KPIs, because I understand the metrics for digital out of home and how they stand and why they make sense for the tactic that they are. But some teams are like, well, what's the brand lift? Like, what are we doing? Like, is that a CPC? Is that a CPA? Like, what I'm gonna do with that? And I guess in a perfect world, there would be a similar KPI to match digital out of home KPIs. But I mean, if you know what the medium is, then you accept the KPIs for digital out of home for what they are. But I guess in an unrealistic world, there would be something similar.
Right. We do have another question. Molly, you had a question?
Sure. Thanks, Adrian. I guess I wanted to ask whether there was any way of evaluating like the relative effectiveness of different venues, like the roadside or the transit or, the different place-based media.
On this particular campaign, we didn't get into that, but we have done that in other campaigns for brand lift studies as well as other metrics that we're solving for. It just has to, it's all about the upfront setup and what you're trying to get out of the measurement. Personally, some of the things I like to see are more place-based versus, outdoor splashy screens to see which perform better based on the particular KPI. So that's a common way to split it up. But yeah, we didn't do it for this campaign, but we can certainly do that and have done it for sure.
Q1.
Let's talk. More granular cuts of data.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.